So, about those folks who said the 49ers wouldn't be competitive again this season, I think Christian McCaffrey and company, Garoppolo included, had a lot to say about that. Oh boy, that and a lot more here on this edition of The Plus. And I welcome back Drew Willingham. Time to get chilly with D. Willie, as we do on Mondays. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate you having me here. It's going to be a great episode.
How about those Philadelphia Phillies?
I tell you what, man, that game one, this start to this series, in my opinion, was one of the greatest starts in the World Series,
Yes.
in my opinion, because you had that 5-run lead, okay? You got a guy on the Astros who hits 2 dingers, gets you a 5-run lead. You think game one is over. The Fighting Phils come back. I don't like Bryce Harper. I never have, but I have to give him credit here, Snowman. He has been leading this team all season long for one of the greatest comeback stories in baseball history. Me as a Braves fan, you know it's hard for me to admit that. However, when it comes to this season, to have 2 wild card teams representing the American League and the National League in the World Series, you got the Phillies fighting back to take game 1. The Astros take game 2. We've got game 3 tonight. It's going to be electric.
In Philadelphia.
I want this.
Madhouse.
Oh, absolutely. And I want this for Dusty Baker because
so do I.
You know, him as a manager for all these years, he was a player, got one with the Dodgers, but Dusty was a utility player. He wasn't really a star or anything, but he has been a star manager. And the one thing missing from that resume is a World Series championship as a manager. Absolutely.
Man, and I saw the signs in Houston for game 2 on Saturday. Do it for Dusty. And the Astros are definitely going to try to do it for him. But to do that, you got to get 3 more. And the next 3 are going to be as difficult as ever, because if you sweep 3 in Philadelphia, with the way those fans have been craving for a World Series since they won theirs in 2008, and then you mix in Bryce Harper, you mix in JT Realmuto, Aaron Nola, boy, oh boy, you want to talk about easier said than done. This is a case for it.
You know, rest in peace, Roy Halladay. That was a great series they had back in 2008. This team is much different than that team that they've had. You know, they've come back from literally nothing this season, losing their manager. You know, Joe Girardi already had won a World Series with New York. Just goes to show that maybe that was a little bit fabricated. It wasn't also all much the management that got them that World Series in New York when he got that one. That should have been Joe Torre's. He should have stayed there and got that one.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Framber Valdez in game 2 was dealing. Boy, was he dealing in game 2.
However, there is some type of rumblings in the dark. Changing the socks during the game. Okay, changing the socks in the glove. This is kind of go throw shades to back in the day. You know, we're looking half decade back when they cheated. They were banging on trash cans. How do we know he doesn't have some Crisco up in that glove or in those socks, helping him throw a little bit more of a break on that curveball?
Because that's a natural curveball. I've studied pitching for many, many years, and the best lefties have that kind of bite on their curveball. I mean, change the socks, change the gloves, all you want. Until the speculation comes to light, it's all gonna be rumblings in the dark.
You just have to admit that is still a legitimate concern when you have a team that was proven cheaters half decade ago, although don't want to take anything away from Dusty. But at the same time, you could have somebody having some Crisco up in those socks, Snowman, or in that glove. We don't
get over it. I will playfully tell you what I tell others. I made my apology 2 years ago after the Astros came within an eyelash with Dusty Baker within 3 innings of getting back to the World Series. The Houston Astros are a professional hitting and pitching ball club. Period. They've proven to me they did their time. They got punished, and their to me, they're doing this for Dusty. I believe they're going to get it done. I mean, the next 3 wins to come by is going to be crazy. Is going to be the hardest thing to do. Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday are the next 3 games, 3, 4, and 5 in Philadelphia. But I'm not buying any more scandals.
Snowman,
it's like people want to pin something on Houston when Houston has nothing but wreck shop, A, in the American League West and B, in the American League. Except for Boston in 2018, who's been the American League champions? It's the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
Well, except for 2020 as well, when they lost to the Rays. Let me beg your pardon on that. But except for the Rays in 20 and the Red Sox in 18, which beat Houston in 5 games and won Game 5 in Texas, who's ruled the roost in the American League?
2 things, Snowman. You do have a very good point, but 2 things. In football, the New England Patriots won a lot of championships, won a lot of pennants compared to baseball, if you want to say. So, and they cheated. So the Astros could still be cheating under Dusty's nose. He's just like our president of the United States. He's older, so he's senile. He could be overlooking some things, and there could be some Crisco in those socks. That's one. That's just one. That's
yeah.
one. Two on the Philly side. You as a play-by-play, myself, color commentator, in our own respects, how do you like the comparison of Kyle Schwarber being compared to Babe Ruth and being called Babe Schwarber when he hit that foul ball that they thought was a home run?
Yeah.
And then it almost hit the home run the next one?
Yep.
Man's got pop. But do you like him being compared to Babe Ruth for what he's done this postseason?
Well, no, because one, Schwarber is a lot thinner than the Babe. And secondly, I'm looking for a lot more consistency from Schwarber now that he's away from the Cubs. You got to look at it that way. Now that Schwarber is away from the scrubs, I want more consistency with Schwarber. But having him in the top spot in the lineup, genius. Absolute freaking genius. All right. I love that. I love that part. I absolutely love that part. Let's take a break for 2 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to talk some football.
Yeah!
And I believe I have a sponsor for not only this, but for the Brian Snow podcast as well. Stick around. We're back in the flash.
Hey, everybody. Snowman here, and thanks for listening to this episode of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Want to tell you about a little thing we like to call Monkey Knife Fight. Wait, what? What in the world is that, you may ask? Well, Monkey Knife Fight is a daily fantasy site where you can play your favorite games, support your favorite players, and make money at the same time. And right now, if you go to monkeyknifefight.com and use the code Snowman, you will get a 100% deposit match on up to $100 on your initial deposit. Go to monkeyknifefight.com and use the code Snowman for an up to 100% deposit on your first deposit of up to $100. Thanks, and tell them Snowman sent you.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, W-I-Z-E.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast.
Yes, indeed. Drew Willie is back with us, and glad to have him back. Do me a favor, y'all. Support the STM Sports Radio Network because there's a podcast center being launched along with it. You see the address at the bottom of your screen, patreon.com/STM Sports Radio Network. For as low as $5 a month, you can help us keep going, build this doggone thing, and really have it take off. I've already had interest from a couple of folks that want to get their podcast onto the network. So I am diving in, and I'm going to build the daylights out of it. How about Christian freaking McCaffrey?
Let's say Trey's pulling off for you, Snowman. It looked like he was pulling off for the Panthers for a little bit yesterday, too. I mean, the way that they were playing and everything, too. So, I mean, the Panthers are in absolute rebuild mode, and Christian McCaffrey was the most valuable asset to that team. For them to be able to get some type of compensation back so that way he gets a chance to have an actual run with the team, a team that is coached by Kyle Shanahan, who has a history with the McCaffreys, as Ed McCaffrey, his dad, played under Kyle's dad. So there's so much within that family tree and so much within that lineage there that they're going to mesh well this upcoming season and beyond. The biggest factor for you as a fan, Snowman, and for this entire team is the health of Christian McCaffrey and keeping him healthy, because he has had some bad luck when it comes to his health throughout his NFL career.
That he has. There's no denying that. And the Panthers, to me, were stupid in paying him all that money after that thousand season because his health went down the tubes. But now that he's with the coach that actually want to use him correctly and not grind him into the dirt, which is what basically Matt Rule was doing the time that he was with the Panthers, I think he's going to flourish in this offense. I really think he's going to flourish. And the 49ers go into the bye with a win, and they're a game ahead of last year's pace. And to me, the magic number is 2 for them to win the West. Here's what I mean. They've already swept the Rams. They crowned Seattle, so they're halfway home. Sweep Seattle, take care of one with Arizona, then the West is theirs. And I said at the top of the year, and you and I have talked about this, when you asked me, who's going to win the West? Is it going to be Arizona? Is it going to be? I said right off top, it's going to be San Francisco. And now they have a chance to heal, get healthy, get Eric Armstead back in the lineup, get their offensive line back together. And also, there's a rusher by the name of Elijah Mitchell, who's only played one game this year. That was the opening game, and then he messed up his knee in Chicago in that doggone monsoon. I tell you what, man, I said it last year, and it proved to be right up until the NFC Championship, and I will say it now. The most dangerous team in the NFC is the San Francisco 49ers, no matter what the record shows.
Yeah, because, you look at teams that have been at the top, like the Packers have been knocked down quite a few pegs, especially after last night. They tried to have some, a little bit of life towards the end of the game, but it was just too late. They were getting smacked around by the Bills all game. For the 49ers to make this move, it just goes to show that the injury bug can affect this team and what decisions they make throughout a season. Because like you said, first game of the season, you're already losing one of your top guys on your offense. You already lost your quarterback that you had already planned to have for the season. You got Jimmy G, which was one of the most important insurance policies I think I've ever seen any team make, by bringing in the quarterback that knows the system and being humble enough to accept that role, to also potentially have a second chance to showcase why he shouldn't be in that position and should be a starting quarterback. So it's great for Jimmy G for his boost of confidence, the team potentially to stick him around and maybe trade Trey Lance, but you got to weigh the factors of Jimmy G's age, and there'll be a lot of decisions that'll have to be made during this off season. But for now, to have Jimmy G doing what he's doing for this team, have McCaffrey coming in and having a great day this past weekend, you got to see that there's a lot of potential for this team to do what Snowman's saying. And I got to back him up on this and add one thing too. When this team has sucked in the past, he's giving them a hard time, just like he gives a hard time to his other teams. Bears, every other team that he is covered in his professional career. And even though he is a fan, just like I am with a team we'll be talking about very soon in the commies, I am hard on them when it has to. The last time I was really giving them praise was probably like 5 or 6 years ago, because it's been a while since we've really seen some height in Washington. But here in San Francisco, the sky's the limit, and I had a feeling whether it's this year or next year, you guys are going to be in the Super Bowl going for a championship, and it could potentially be this year at the rate you're going. It
could be the next 2 years. They have to stay healthy, because they can rule the West with no problem. And if you go back to last year, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, because who expected them, A, to beat the Cowboys on the road, and B, who expected them to beat the Packers on the road, and to come within 120 seconds of beating the Rams on the road?
Absolutely. And hey, and they have the number against the Rams. I mean, Shanahan
Ooh-wee.
is McVay's daddy, and
Yep.
you can tell
Yep.
that with him, LaFleur, and all that time that they spent in Washington. They learned a lot from the Shanahans, but it's kind of like when the grasshopper learns from the almighty one or whatnot.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the grasshopper's still going to lose because you still have a lot left to learn. That's why you are the grasshopper.
And here's the thing with Sean McVay. He has yet to improve his offense. He has yet to install a running game. And we're going back to Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta. Because the way you take the Patriots down is you run the ball down their throat.
I mean,
and they didn't.
You can't take it away from he's still a good coach. I feel like Shanahan's better, but McVay has had better talent on his teams that have made it that far. When Shanahan's made it to the Super Bowl, he hasn't had quite the talent that the Rams had. And with the moves that they made, and especially the biggest one in the prior offseason, when you traded Goff for Stafford, of course it's going to be a huge upgrade from what you had. And that was the turning point for that team last year. But they are nowhere near what the team of last year was. You lost your leader on the offensive line, who's now a commentator in Whitworth, and you lose other pieces too. You don't have OBJ doing the things that he did to lead you up to that Super Bowl.
Right.
So there's a lot of different changes with that team, and it looks like for the changes that they've made due to whatever the cause is, your team, the 49ers, have picked up that slack, and now you guys are looking like there is no ceiling for you potentially for this season. So I'm not a fan of your team, but I'm pulling for you for your case.
Speaking of pulling for you, I'm pulling for y'all. And it ain't the commies, doggone it. I've said it since minute one when they announced the change. And my wife and I had a discussion about this because she said, how do you feel about the name change? I said, look, it's a smoke screen because of Daniel Snyder. True or false? It's a smoke. That name change was a smoke screen to everything else that was going on in that joint.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only a smoke screen to what was going on within the organization, Snowman, but let's get real. 2020 politics, everything, the dumb things that we saw throughout that year, and we saw some dumb things throughout the pandemic.
We ever.
Yeah, and that all played a part in the name change of not just this team, but the Indians, the Guardians now of Cleveland.
Yep.
And you've got other things, and there's other arguments that I can make that if you're going to change this, you might as well change that, because you just changed a name that had been for nearly 90 years.
90 years.
It's 90 years now, but it had been 88 years at the point that they changed it, going on a century old. And all of a sudden, just because people are feeling some type of way because they're huddled up in their house because of the pandemic, we got to change the damn name. So it was, for someone who has been a fan of that license plate right behind me right here, beside the, right over there, that has the Redskins football, because that's how long I've got pictures to prove I was in Redskins baby clothes. I've been a fan for 35 years. I even have a half sleeve tattoo, Snowman, of the emblem right there. So I'm dedicated, but I've as much as I hate to admit the change and hate to do with it, when it comes to this world and it comes to everything today, you just got to adapt with the change and move on. I'm not harping on it. I'm still a forever fan of the team, and they're on my body till the day I die. And I got memorabilia.
Yes.
But when I'm professionally out there covering them at FedEx Field, I will refer to them as the Washington Commanders.
Right.
When I am talking about them to you on the podcast, on your podcast, my shows, whatever, they're going to be called the Commies, the Washington Team of Football, so they should be called WTF in their initials for What the Father. And we'll just say that for your show.
Yes.
Just to be appropriate for the network, okay? But you all know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's how they've been. But they should have been. I would have much rather them be the Washington Football Team than the Washington Commanders, because until they change the name again, because I feel like at some point it's not going to last forever.
They're going to do it again.
Whether it might result in a relocation to another area, which would suck. And whether they come to, because they got all that land in Dumfries, which isn't that far away from Landover, Maryland. You actually have to drive through Dumfries from where I come from to go to FedEx Field.
Right.
So if they move it to Dumfries, you technically can make them the Virginia Destroyers, Virginia whoever's, and they could change the name and make it much better than taking command, because they haven't been taking much command until this past weekend. Now,
when they showed some kind of resolve, and Taylor Heineke should be the starter for the remainder of the year.
Absolutely. And just to show you that I'm with you 100%, I'm wearing my legend of Taylor Heineke as he's diving for the pylon right there. Got that last year from my brother. Shout out to him for this shirt, because he made a good point, and you have to go back and look on. There's a clip on YouTube I saw not too long ago. Taylor Heineke being interviewed at the beginning of the season. I think it might have actually been during preseason about the starting role for Carson Wentz and how it affected him. He broke it down very well. When you're paying a guy $30 million a year to play quarterback, and you're paying another guy $2 million a year to play quarterback, you got to assume that they're going to be putting the guy in there they're paying the most money, because they got to get the dividends out of him the much as they can.
Exactly.
In the short time that Taylor Heineke has played in the past couple of weeks since Carson Wentz's injury, he's proven, just like what you said, that he should be the quarterback. I thought he should before that they traded for Wentz, and they could have invested that trade into something else in another position, or like spent that compensation. Absolutely. And spent that compensation there too, because even though you made the trade and exchange picks, you still got to pay Carson Wentz. So that money is still coming out of your salary cap. So with all that being said, Taylor Heineke proved, because he took you to the damn playoffs, maybe not as pretty
damn near beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes, who are definitely struggling enough in itself. We'll get to that in a minute. But with the Commanders, with commies, whoever, when you have Taylor Heineke doing that for you for the first time since I think Cousins was there, getting you to the playoffs, it doesn't matter how you get to the playoffs. Just matters as you did. You still played an extra week or an extra 2 weeks longer than most did in the regular season. So you're still getting some type of revenue for it. And then the next year you make another addition to your team and you build on it. The problem is, in the front office is ran by Daniel Snyder. And until he is removed,
till he's gone,
sells the team or whatever, which I feel like if they can't get rid of him now or within the next calendar year, we're stuck with him until he dies. Okay. And he's not that old. So we could see him owning this team for another 20, 30 years until he gets Donald Sterling out of there.
Man, it should not have come to this.
It should not, man.
It should really not have. How many times have we said that off the air? It should not have come to this. We've been saying this for the 2 years we've been hooked up on the air, man. It should not have come to this.
Look,
it should not have come to this at all.
I appreciate every opportunity been given to me in my tenure into the sports media world in the past 4 years, okay? Only 4 years for me in the sports media, and I've been to FedEx Field 3 out of those 4 years and covered. This is my 5th NFL season in the 4 years I've been a part of it. So at 3 out of the 5 NFL seasons, I've been there and covered 3 out of those 5 seasons. I appreciate the opportunities been given to me, to the network that I'm with Darrell and Jay and everyone there. I appreciate it.
Legacy Maker. I love you guys there.
And we love you too. However, when it comes to this, commies, we need you to step your game up, because I love covering you. I love being a fan for you for 3.5 decades, but it has been, that's why they call you the cardiac team, because there's probably so many heart attacks and strokes within the fan base of the Washington team of football, whatever you call them, and just fans of football in general who may not even be a fan, but just happen to watch their game because they're the only game on Fox at 1 o'clock.
Right.
And they have to watch it. And you're giving them a heart attack just by your play calling abilities and structure of your team. Ron Rivera, I don't feel like is a bad coach. The Shanahans weren't bad coaches. But if you watch Sunday NFL Countdown this past Sunday, and you had Shanahan, McVay, and LaFleur on there, all 3 of them, and they laughed as they said it about, they had that one great year when RG3 was a rookie. But the other 3 out of the 4 seasons that they were all together in the Shanahan regime was an absolute dumpster fire.
It
ran by dumpster pelicans. It was terrible. It was atrocious. And it was hard for me as a fan in my young 20s. No wonder why I partied so much and drank so much, because it was tough to be a fan of that team.
Yeah. Oh, man. For the days of John Riggins. Let's pause when we come back. Speaking of dumpster pelicans, there are 2 NBA teams we need to talk about that are dumpster pelicans or dumpster fires or whatever the case may be. Back in a flash.
Have you had a chance to visit the Snowman in the Morning shop yet? You haven't? Then what are you waiting for? Go to officialsitmorn.com, check out the shop when you type in the word shop, and you'll see things like, a coffee mug that's available, a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, and a whole lot more. And while you're buying items from the Snowman in the Morning shop, you can support the Snow Strong Carolina mission. We got a lot to do and a short time to get there. Go to officialsitmorn.com/shop. Check out all of the gear and wear the same gear that the crew wears. And when you're doing that, tell them Snowman sent you. Hey everybody, Snowman here. I have a way for you to support our humble little morning show and support your favorite team and or player at the same time. All you have to do is go to officialsitmorn.com/fanatics. That's right, officialsitmorn.com/fanatics. With the NFL on the way, as well as Major League Baseball heading into its playoff stage, you can support your favorite player and or team, and you can also support this morning show, as Fanatics is an affiliate sponsor of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Just head on over to officialsitmorn.com/fanatics and you can support your favorite team and or player. Fanatics, where sports fans shop. And when you go there, tell them Snowman sent you. Thanks.
Speaking of dumpster fires, the Fakers and the Mess. 2 teams that were picked by... You know where I want to go with this. That were picked by so many members of the working media, which are lazier than hell. You and I both know that. As the representatives of their particular conference in the NBA World Championship Series. First of all, that makes me mad because there's no respect to the defending champion Golden State Warriors. Even as we speak, they're 3-4 right now, but they got a lot of moving parts, and they're going to get it together. They're going to get it. I don't care what anybody says. They're going to get it together. And once they start running, as my buddy Victor says, you're not going to be able to stop them.
I don't really look too much into the hype of the beginning of the season, because when it comes to basketball, it's a little rocky for most teams. Unless you got a super team like back in the day, you're not starting out 5-0 in most cases, or just unless you get an easy schedule, kind of like the New York Giants of football. But the biggest thing, and also I'm looking forward to acknowledging the comments at some point in your show just before I get back on topic. But with the Lakers starting out 0-5, when you have the talent, even though it's aged at what it is, it's still a horrible start. You won last night by 11 points over the Denver Nuggets, who were 4-2 going into that game. So, I mean, that was a boost to the team. But when you got LeBron James, who's overly hyped, as much as you have your bronze sexual, segment on Wednesdays, it definitely goes through that, his overhypeness. When you look at his past 3 games, at the age that he is in his 20th season, him individually, statistically, not horrible, but you need help around you. And this is the point that you have to ask yourselves as a organization within the Los Angeles Lakers. You started out 0-5. You didn't win last night. Russell Westbrook did do pretty decent coming off the bench. Almost, he came close enough to having a triple-double off the bench when you look at his stats. So I actually have to praise Russell Westbrook in that aspect in that game, but it took you 5 losses to get to that point in the Los Angeles Lakers. And you look at their first 5 games that they had, playing the Warriors, losing 123 to 109. But I mean, it is the Warriors that you're playing in that first game of the season. Then you play the Clippers, losing by 6. And we always talk as much smack as we do about them being the secondary team in Los Angeles.
Yes.
You shouldn't be losing by 6 points to the Clippers. And you should be 1-1 at that point. I expected you to lose to the Warriors, but not to the Clippers. The Trailblazers game, losing by 2, that was a close game. However, I still feel like they should have been 2-1.
And the Lakers
with
led
the
that game. They led the game by 8 with less than 2 minutes to go.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, on paper, when I was looking at it, like, if you were to look at the first 5 games and predict the first 5 games, going into that third game, they should be 2-1 at that point. Then when you're playing the Nuggets, of course, that team's been great for so many years, under the past regime in the past, let's say, half decade.
Right.
I would expect them to be 2-2 at that point, losing to the Nuggets in the fourth game. Playing the Timberwolves, who have made some additions this offseason and have definitely made moves to boost their team. I would expect them to be 2-3 at that point, but I didn't expect it. And coming into the game, the secondary game with the Nuggets, of course, I would probably it would be legitimate to say that they should be 3-3 coming into last night's game. Well, finishing last night's game with the 6th game. I didn't see them being 0-5. So back to what I was saying, as far as when you're an organization as the Lakers, you got to think about this. When you got LeBron and you got all these pieces and you're trying to rebuild this team to something special, you're stuck pretty much with Russell Westbrook's contract because nobody's going to want to pay him $47 million unless you can consistently get out of him what you got last night, but you have to put him on the bench to do that, and you have to pay somebody $47 million on the bench to do that. You're not going to get as much in trade value for him. At this point, LeBron, he did recently extend his contract, but you have to ask yourself, should we consider discussing with him waiving the no trade and moving him for more pieces for the team, but also to put him in a winning position because he is in year 20. His body has been breaking down the past 2 seasons since they won that bubble championship. It's time to start thinking about the future. He may or may not make it to when Bronny starts playing, but if you really want to add to your resume and get a 5th or 6th championship, you and I already will argue this till the day we die. He'll never be better than Jordan because of the amount of losses and the amount of times it took to get to the 4 championships and the amount of teams and the amount of talent that it took when you put all that on paper.
And the amount of talent that he's wrecked.
Exactly. So the potential is there because they got the bubble championship, which had we not had the pandemic and had the bubble, I don't think that they would have got
the Lakers would not have.
No, it worked out perfectly because everybody got rest. The bracket was there. You were kind of in like an NCAA tournament format. You weren't really traveling. So there were so many advantages and there were some disadvantages, but there were more advantages to that aging team than there was to the ones of youth. So, and the younger ones were going stir crazy in there, because they didn't want to be there. The older ones were just kind of like, F it. Like, let's go ahead and get this championship real quick. And it worked out in their favor. But for the Lakers, do you hang on to LeBron? You're going to lose Westbrook. Do you trade AD? You got to make some type of move because going 0-5.
They got to strip that team clean.
The memes that were going across social media last week of this 0-5, it's just been absolutely redonkulous. And it's time to blow this thing up, like you said. But what do you do to do it? And LeBron is getting frustrated in year 20 because at this point, he feels like he should have another championship in LA. He definitely should have more championships than what he already has with the amount of talent he's played with, not only in Los Angeles, but Cleveland with those 4 straight championship appearances. And then before that, in Miami with the 4 straight there, because you went to 8 straight and you only won
4.
My bad. I put the wrong finger up.
I mean, you only won 3 with between Cleveland and Miami. You were right.
Yeah. You won 3 in 8 years. It was 4 in 10 because he went to 8 straight, missed the 1 because he was in LA for that first year, and they didn't make the playoffs.
They didn't do
the
thing.
Second year was when he went to the bubble and won. Now you're in your 4th year, LeBron. What are you gonna do?
You know, here's my get off my lawn take, and I've been accused of making such takes, but I don't care. This is what you do with the current team. This is what you do with the current team. You bring them all into the office, and you hand them all the pink slip. You're like, all your contracts are now null and void. Hope you save the money that you have because you're not playing here. Get out and stay out. You tell them all. You give them the Ray Charles treatment. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. And you build from there. because every piece that you traded away, A, to sign LeBron, B, to sign AD, and C, God help me, to sign Russell Westbrook, are now gone.
Yeah.
And they ain't coming back. And here's the other piece. Besides telling all the players, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back anymore, you tell Rob Pelinka, thank you for your service, but get the hell out.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
even give him no parting gifts, no what's the word I'm looking for? Severance packages or nothing. You tell Rob Pelinka, look, you ruined my team. You ruined this franchise with some of the moves that you okayed while you were here in power. You're no longer in power. Get the hell out and stay out.
Yeah, Pelinka's only got the credential. I mean, the resume that he has based upon the talent that was already acquired or that was already made up their mind to go there. LeBron knew that he was going to LA before Pelinka even knew.
And LeBron is no longer interested. And I know Rod West is going to get mad at me for saying this, but like I said, I particularly don't care. And I've felt this for a while. LeBron is not interested in chasing championships. He's chasing A, his son Bronny, and playing with him. And B, he's chasing the movie bag. Now, I hate to say this about LeBron, but your directing and movie making blows.
Yes, it does.
I mean, he was in charge of a couple of game shows, and I couldn't watch them because it's like, you call those game shows? The only thing that LeBron put in those game shows was his budget.
Yeah, LeBron is not going to be a Hollywood actor when he finally retires from the game of basketball.
That shop. What the hell is that?
I actually, you know what? I actually have to disagree with you on that one. I actually do like the podcast like a little bit because there are some perspectives, and it's not really LeBron because he has so many guests on there. Like you get, it's kind of like with our shows. Like, you know, with you have me on here on Mondays, and me having my two shows that I have. It's like we have guests on there, so it's good to get different perspectives of things. So you know, you get to have that camaraderie and discuss, you know, sports and everything in general.
You're right.
But as much hate is, you know, people say that you and I, and that's one of the biggest things we have in common, but one of the biggest things we give so much hate to LeBron.
Yes.
And I call him LeBust, and I've been calling him LeBust for the majority of his entire career.
I've called him LeBust since the day he was drafted.
Absolutely. But when you look at his stats, though, definitely not trying to put him at number one or anything, but at year 20, he is never, in my opinion, going to be the greatest of all time in NBA history. However, you do have to kind of compare him a little bit to Tom Brady when it comes to longevity, because not many people can make it 20 years, even though the past 2 years he's been nowhere close to what he was. But for 18 years, even though it was a lot of it was a result of rule changes, and we've both discussed on several episodes in the past how much the game of all sports, NBA, basketball, football, baseball, they're all getting more pussified.
Yeah,
baseball is getting a little bit more managed with the rule changes for next year and everything. I don't really like them, but when it comes to basketball, you know, Jordan and other greats in the past played in more contact, physical era. LeBron, no, it's been more of a shooter style, especially since Steph Curry's come to the league. It's been more behind the arc, 3 points. It's changed the game. LeBron never been the greatest 3-point shooter, but he's been decent enough to at least, you know, he's had a 34.5 3-point percentage for his career. So that's not great, but it's manageable when you compare. Yeah. He's at least 50% in field goal percentage, averaging 27 points a game. When you're averaging 27 points a game, Snowman, for 20 years, that's still legendary. It's not the greatest, but when you're averaging that on 38 minutes a game, and you're still averaging 36 minutes a game right now in the start of this regular season, it's only 6 games in, but you're in your year 20, you're 37 years old. You'll be 38 in December. Not many people at near 38 years old can still play a star role, average 35 plus minutes a game, averaging 44.7% in field goals, and getting nearly 26 points a game at that age. As much hate as I give him because the game is pussified, he's had to have help to make it further in the playoffs and to actually get the championships that he's achieved. him individually, statistically, has still been great for the game of basketball. Has it improved it? Has he really improved it much? Not as much of an impact as Steph Curry has. He's been an asset to the game of basketball and to sports in general. As far as that, he has been very overhyped. He has not been something that has kind of tipped the scales, or a needle mover, as they say, for WWE and Roman Reigns. He hasn't really been a needle mover for basketball. However, he has played integral parts of keeping the game interesting, going for like Kareem's record for having the longevity that he has. He will go down as a legend, in my opinion, but he has been overhyped during the tenure of his career. And when you look back at the media coverage and stuff, even though media much different coverage back when Jordan played, because there was social media wasn't even out yet, because Jordan retired in 03. Social media really didn't
social media hadn't taken over yet.
Yeah, social media didn't really get started till 04, and that was really within college. It didn't really take off till like 5 years later, like between 2007 2009. That's when everybody and their grandmother literally was having a MySpace or a Facebook within that time frame. So
MySpace.
With Jordan to get the coverage that he got in the era that he got, it just speaks volumes, because nowadays everybody's a critic, because you can literally go on Facebook, press live, and have a video. We're doing a production right here. There's a big difference. It's not ESPN. That's one thing I tell everybody. It's not ESPN. We're still climbing the ladder, but it's still great production quality. We have fun doing it, because that's the number one thing. You got to have fun while you're doing it. LeBron's had fun with what he's done, but he's not a Hollywood actor. He should probably just be like a team owner or work within business, because he does make some great business moves within that. But as a player, his days are winding down. He's not going to make it to 45 like Tom Brady has. I see LeBron making it to 40 like Jordan did, or 41. But how he manages his body between now and then will determine if he makes it that far. And he's done a great job, because he's made it 20 years at the position that he's played, because you got to also give him credit to this. Throughout the entirety of his 20-year career, it hasn't been consistent, but he's played all 5 positions, and at some points throughout the course of one game, but a lot of times throughout the course of a season. It's taxing enough to play one position, regardless of how pussified the game of basketball is. It's hard enough to play one position, let alone all 5 different ones. At the high minutes that he's done. No wonder why his body's broken down. But I will 100% agree with you that he is overhyped, and the amount of times that he's gone to the finals, he literally should have won every single time. Now, you did face the Golden State Warriors, so I can't really give you so much hate for losing 3 out of 4 there. But when you're with the Miami Heat, you should have won 4 straight there.
Should have.
That might have changed the complexion. You might not have gone back to Cleveland. I still feel like he would have, because he really wanted to give Cleveland a championship. And as a person, I give you a nod personally, not in the game of basketball, but personally for you wanting to go back home and bring greatness to your hometown when they have not had it since Jim Brown and the Cleveland Browns in the early 60s. So I got to give you credit there. It doesn't make you anywhere close to the comparison of Michael Jordan, though, and I want you to stop comparing yourself to him. You are not the king. You are not the greatest. But
that thing he said, that comeback in 2016, that made me the greatest of all time. No, it didn't, because there was a fellow by the name of Irvin Magic Johnson. Everybody has been and will continue to ballyhoo about LeBron playing all 5 positions. I don't ballyhoo about that, and I have a very important reason. May 23rd, 1980. Yeah, everybody wants to say, LeBron can play all 5 positions. Yeah, but can he do it in the course of one game?
He has.
I know a fellow who did. His name is Irvin Magic Johnson. And that's why I brought up the date, May 23rd, 1980, because he did it live on the court as a rookie in Philadelphia at the Spectrum against Julius Erving and the Sixers, which produced a 6-game conquest of the Sixers. And it also produced something that LeBron will never have, a finals MVP, as a rookie.
No,
Only one to do it was Magic Johnson.
I'll give you that, because that was, if I remember right, that was the year that Kareem was hurt, right?
Yes.
The first one?
Yeah,
okay.
that was
so
That was Kareem had migraines.
As an individual performance in the finals, especially as a rookie, because I did watch the HBO special, even though I think there's some parts of it that were fabricated.
Oh yeah.
Showtime. It was still a great document. It was still a great docuseries or whatever you want to call it. But I think this is why, and that was still, I can't take anything away from what you just said, but I think that's why there's been a lot more comparisons for LeBron to Magic Johnson because of the 5 positions that he can play all different 5 positions. He has done it in a game before, Snowman. However, I do give you the nod on this because Magic Johnson, different era, much more physical.
Yes.
Things of what he did, the legendary things are what built the game to what it was for when Jordan got there, for what and Jordan helped elevate it to what it was on a marketing level, to where when LeBron got there was so many more opportunities that LeBron had as a rookie because of Michael Jordan that he would not have had it not been for Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. Because when Magic Johnson did what you just said, NBA was on life support. It was not doing well when it comes to numbers, ratings,
at all
of that stuff. It was potentially on the verge of getting canceled like the XFL or USFL or something because of the revenue.
The games were being tape delayed.
The they weren't live. Even the NBA
the Broncos were being
finals.
tape delayed, and CBS was on the verge of losing that contract.
Yep.
CBS was on the verge of losing that contract. As a matter of fact, they were not going to renew the contract after 1980. And then Magic Johnson and Larry Bird showed up, and at the time, Larry O'Brien said, "We're on to something," and the rest is history.
Had it not been for the March Madness in 1979, with 2 of them going at each other in the NCAA finals,
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Had it not been for that and the hype of them going to the NBA, because the NBA, like we were just saying, was dying and stuff. Had it not been the hype of those 2 players, we may not be talking NBA. The sports world as we know it, the complexion of it would be different.
So different.
Technology may be different. You and I might not, we'd still be alive, but we might not be here talking sports. The one sport could have changed the complexion of it, because when we don't have football and we don't have baseball, because after the Super Bowl, it's kind of a dead time. All we got is basketball, really. We got March Madness coming up and we got NBA. That's the time where everybody really gets invested. Because from right now to February, let's admit, football is everything. And especially if your team is in it, it's everything to you as a fan, as an individual. So this point of the year, talking about basketball, not as big, but when you have a team starting out 0-5, LeBron, and the things that have happened with that team, you can't help but to not talk about it. And we've talked about it for quite some time, but it has been worth it. Just like the team that I know you want to talk about here in a minute, and that is the mess there in Brooklyn. But I do have one request, Snowman, if we could, before we do that.
Yes.
Do you mind if we acknowledge some comments here? Because Sick, Diggy, and the ones in the chat, there's some comments I'd like to acknowledge here, because I want to say what's up to Sick. It's always good to talk with you guys. Haven't been around on Snowman in the Morning that much as far as in the comments this past week. It has been a recovery week. I don't know if you were here at the beginning, Sick, when I was talking about I was a best man at my best friend's wedding last weekend before last. At 35 years old, it was very taxing, exhausting. Had a great time, but I apologize to Snowman like really early, like 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. I was just like, man, I know my body, and I know right now I need to just recover, because I drove 2.5 hours to Ringgold, Virginia, away from my house, did the best man duties and everything over a 2-day span, and drove back, man. And I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. So Sick, Diggy, thank you for that. So I'm doing great. And I want to acknowledge one other comment he put in there after Happy Halloween, folks, the smoke screen. Indeed, especially since he comes off like a chain smoker. I am a recovering cigarette smoker that quit cold turkey back in January 17th.
Yes.
And it was definitely a very big accomplishment. And I will make one. I'm going to acknowledge this to the world, because I've been meaning to do it in the post. I'm just going to do it right here for Snowman. Okay.
Go ahead.
During the wedding weekend, fell off the wagon, smoked some cigarettes, because they were there. Alcohol was involved. We're adults. Even though I've had alcohol and stuff since I quit cold turkey, it was a lot of people I hadn't seen before. A lot of people I've seen in a while. A lot of people I've met. It was a great time. So it just kind of happened throughout the course of the week. Had indulged in some cigarettes. However, quit cold turkey again over the weekend, and it wasn't out of need or anything. It wasn't because I was jonesing. It was out of want and it's easy to get back into a bad habit. However, when you quit like I did in January and I went I went a little over 3/4 of the year without any tobacco, it's easy to say to stop. But I had a great time with my friends, a great time with some new friends. I was happy to be back home, happy to recover last week, but most importantly, happy to be back here today with Snowman because my week was not right last week. It's like I got to start my week off with Snowman, with my guy here talking sports for a little bit because it's one of the highlights of my week to be here with you, my man.
Well, we love having you. We love having you. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I will acknowledge this. LeBron will take the Lakers to the playoffs. No, he won't. He'll take them into the draft lottery. And then as soon as he rides off into the sunset after the year he plays with Bronny, because I expect that to happen, but I also close with this. Bronny, whatever team drafts you, if you see LeBron coming toward that team, run like hell.
I got one thing for you before we roll out, though.
All right.
World Series tonight, Game 3, because we didn't really give a prediction at the end.
McCullers versus Noah Syndergaard is the pitch matchup tonight.
When we come back next week, the World Series could be potentially over unless it makes it to 7 games.
Yeah, unless it goes 7 games. I got the Astros, and I say it goes no more than 6.
You think the Astros in 6? I want Snowman. I want them to win so bad. I just have a feeling, man. I got a feeling it's going to come out of the East again this year. They beat the Mets and the Braves to get to this point, dude.
Yes.
And they beat 2 teams that had over 100 wins at the top of the division. And they were so far back, and look at where they're at now. I don't want to give it to the Phillies, but at this point, I've been wrong. I've been wrong all season. I got to give it to them now, and hopefully I'm wrong because I want to see the Astros.
This could easily be Washington Nationals 2019 all over again.
It could.
It could easily be that, but the only change is Houston won a home game. Houston did not win a home game in 2019 in the World Series, and they had the home field advantage.
Well, the biggest change with that too is Bryce Harper got traded or dealt, or he was a free agent and went to the Phillies that offseason, and the Nationals won. So that was another big change, and that was one of my favorite parts as a baseball fan in general was to see them not win that World Series. And actually, I'm wrong, Snowman. This Saturday would be if they actually make it far enough into Game 7. We'll be talking about it next Monday if it goes 7 games because Saturday is unless there's rain delays like we saw throughout, which I'm kind of hoping for. I'd rather us be talking about Game 7 that happens Sunday night on Monday afternoon. But I have the Phillies in 7 on Saturday night for that Saturday night game in Game 7. I hope I'm wrong.
Yep.
I really do. Out of everything I've said all season, I've been wrong about everything. But now I hope I'm wrong about the Phillies.
3, 4, and 5 today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. They take a day off. And should it go that far, Game 6 will be Friday in Texas, and Game 7 will be Saturday in Texas. We will see what happens. From my buddy Drew Willingham, who joins me every Monday here on the you got something else? Go ahead.
Sorry, one shout out, and I have to because it's on your show, and I know you love this guy too. For the first time in 45 episodes, tomorrow we have a double debate Tuesday for the In or Out Sports Debate, episodes 56 and 57. Episode 56 at 3:15 p.m. For the first time in 45 episodes, Rob Johnson comes back home for episode 56 for the 12th and record-breaking appearance, 12th appearance for the Vault of Fame. Rob Johnson tomorrow at 3:15. Joey Raymond returns it for 57 tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And I hope at some point before the end of the year, my man Snowman comes back for his 3rd time on the In or Out Sports Debate. My man. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to give a shout out to my guys. We've been making some strides there with that show, and that's my baby.
And it's about to really take off. Love that show. And if you haven't checked out the Legacy Maker Sports Network and my man Drew Willingham with the In or Out Sports Debate. It's fun, it's fabulous, and it's crazy. We're out of here. We'll see you next time on Snowman in the Morning Plus.